So I was looking at the latest LTIMindtree results, and it seems like they've had a pretty interesting quarter.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I saw that too. They've released their Q3 results for fiscal year 2025, right? It's always a bit of a deep dive to get through all the numbers, but there's some juicy stuff in there.
Definitely. I mean, the sheer amount of data is a little overwhelming, but it seems they've had a good run with a historic high order inflow. What does that even mean for them?
Well, a historic high order inflow of like $1.68 billion. That's huge. I mean, it suggests that they've secured a lot of new projects. Think of it like a restaurant getting a huge amount of bookings. It fills up their schedule. So that means more revenue coming in down the line, which is always a good thing.
That's a great analogy. That makes a lot of sense. So it's not just about what they made this quarter, but also about what they're set to make in the future, right?
Exactly. It's like planting seeds. You don't see the fruit immediately, but it guarantees future harvests. And I think a 29% sequential increase in order inflow, that is some serious planting.
That's pretty significant. So, what about their actual revenue? Did they manage to grow that as well?
Yes, their revenue reached $1.14 billion, which is a 1.8% sequential growth in constant currency. And if you look at it in USD terms, it's still a 1.1% increase. I mean, a bit of growth there, but the constant currency figure is probably the more important one.
Right, because that takes out the fluctuations in exchange rates, I guess. So they're actually doing better than what the USD figures might suggest.
Precisely. It's like measuring the height of a plant without accounting for the soil level changes. Constant currency gives a clearer picture of the underlying business performance.
Okay, that makes sense. So it looks like there's some good news here. But, I noticed their net profit actually dipped a bit this quarter, both in USD and INR.
Yeah, you're right. Their net profit was down 14.3% quarter on quarter in USD and about 13.2% quarter on quarter in INRs. I guess we can't just look at revenue. There's more to it, right?
Yeah, that is a bit of a bummer. I mean, it's like they're making more money, but somehow keeping less of it, right?
Well, that could be due to increased operating costs or maybe some investments they made that haven't paid off just yet. Think of it like a business spending more on advertising to grow the customer base. The short term is costly, but it could pay off in the future.
That's a good point. It's not always a straight line, right? It's like they're building for the future, but it's affecting the immediate bottom line.
Exactly. And if you see, they're actively investing in AI. They've got new partnerships and specializations. So it is like a tech company going back to school. It costs money up front to improve their skills, but those skills will enable them to earn more later.
That's interesting. So they're focusing on AI, it seems. The press release mentions AI in everything and everything for AI deals.
Yes, and they've got a slew of new client wins. Some global manufacturers, investment firms, and even a nuclear energy company are using their AI platforms. This seems to be a core focus for them.
That sounds pretty impressive, actually. It's like they're not just doing regular IT, they're diving deep into the AI side of things.
Exactly. And if you look at it, they are not just developing the tech, they're also helping clients implement AI solutions. It is like being a chef and teaching your students how to cook the dishes. I mean, you're not just creating new recipes, but helping others use them too.
That's a neat analogy. So it is like they're trying to become more relevant in the AI space. So what else is worth noting?
Well, they've been adding to their headcount. Over 2,300 employees added for the third consecutive quarter. So that shows that they're growing. And their trailing 12-month attrition is 14.3%, which, is always something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, the human resource aspect is so important. I mean, it's like having a good team behind you is key, especially in tech, right?
Absolutely. And their client base seems to be expanding too. They've increased their $5 million plus, $10 million plus, and $50 million plus clients year over year. I think that is a positive sign, it shows they're landing bigger deals.
Definitely. So bigger clients, more employees, a huge pipeline. It seems like they are setting themselves up pretty well, despite the slight dip in profit this quarter.
Yes, and it's not like they're making losses. Their revenue is still growing. It's just that their net profit is not growing at the same pace right now. And looking at the partnerships they have forged, they're clearly investing for the long term.
Now, I am a little bit curious. What do they mean when they mention limited review reports? I saw that in the letter to the stock exchanges.
That's a good question. So, a limited review is less extensive than a full audit. It means that the auditors, in this case, Deloitte, Haskins, and Sells, checked the financial statements, but they didn't do a full deep dive like they would for an annual audit.
Okay, so it's like a quick checkup versus a full physical exam. That makes sense. It's not as exhaustive, but it gives a decent level of assurance, right?
Exactly. They're basically saying they haven't seen anything that raises a red flag. But it's not the same as an audit that would give more assurance. It's a common practice for quarterly results.
It makes perfect sense. So it's like a midterm report rather than a final grade, right? And I did see the geographical breakdown of their revenue. North America seems to be their biggest market.
Yes, North America accounts for about 74.7% of their revenue, it seems. Europe is next with around 13.8%. And the rest of the world makes up the remaining 11.5%.
So they are heavily reliant on the US market. It's like a big pie, but also kind of makes them vulnerable if something happens there, right?
Well, that's a fair point. It means that they need to keep a close eye on that region. It's a bit like having most of your eggs in one basket. Now, this doesn't mean that they should abandon North America, but probably they should look at balancing out their presence.
Okay, so diversification might be a key for future growth and stability. I mean, it is like a good investor, right? Don't put all your money in just one stock.
Precisely. And it shows that they are aware of the need to balance their portfolio. Now, something interesting too, they have a 360-degree solution for Oracle database migration to Azure Cloud, which is a pretty big deal in the tech space.
Oh, yeah, that sounds technical. I mean, what does that even mean for them and their clients?
Well, a lot of companies use Oracle databases, and moving them to the Azure cloud can be complex, costly, and time consuming. So, LTIMindtree is essentially offering a complete solution that makes this process smoother, faster, and more efficient. A bit like a moving company that handles the entire process for you.
Okay, so that's a value add service that can help them stand out in the market. It's like being the best mechanic when everyone else is struggling to fix their car, right?
Exactly. And that is why they are getting recognized by various firms. They've been mentioned in Forrester reports for customer analytics, application modernization, automation fabric, and business intelligence. It is kind of like getting awards for being good at your job.
It seems like they are doing pretty well. So, looking back at everything, is it safe to say that this was a positive quarter for them overall?
Yeah, I'd say so. Despite the slight dip in net profit, the significant order inflow, the growth in revenue, the focus on AI, and all these partnerships, it all paints a picture of a company that is investing for the future and expanding their influence in the tech market.
And before we wrap up, a quick reminder to our listeners, if you are enjoying our conversations, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got more exciting discussions coming up.
Absolutely. Your support keeps us going. Now, getting back to LTIMindtree, I guess the next thing to watch out for is if these investments and AI strategies continue to drive growth in the upcoming quarters, and maybe how they start balancing out their geographical revenue streams.
Yeah, those are some good points to consider. And I'm curious to see how they improve their margins too. So thanks for breaking that all down. That was really helpful and and clear as always.
No problem at all. It's always a pleasure discussing these things. And maybe next time we can dive deeper into some of their specific client wins, to see how they're doing, like on a case by case basis.
That's a great idea. That would be super insightful. All right, until next time then.